Good morning, church, and welcome to Church in the Home, today from the Goslin household. My name's Kirsty, this is Stuart and our 3 children, and we look forward to spending this morning with you.
And just to start off in true style, I have a joke for you because I know you've been missing my jokes. What is Beethoven's favourite fruit? Banana, banana. Ah, you know you liked it. I knew you would. That's to cheer you up there, doesn't it? No, it's really good to see you, as Kirsty said. We're going to just pray together. Let's just pray at the start of this morning together. In a moment, Alaina is about to lead us in some worship. So let's just pray for the Holy Spirit. Let's just pray that God meets with us. So Lord, we thank you this morning that we can come to you, Lord, from our various places, but together, Lord, and we can come and be with you. We can worship you together. So Lord, as we worship, Lord, will you come and meet with us, Holy Spirit? Would you bless us as we just bring ourselves to you? And God, we pray that, Lord, your kingdom come and your will be done. Amen? So, Amen. Over to you, Alaina.
Good morning, church. Just want to worship with you this morning, if that's okay. Just had a few songs that have been on my heart over the last couple of days. And I feel like sometimes we can forget how great our God is. We can forget the power that He has. So sometimes we just need to sing them. So just join with me this morning. We're going to do some worship. Great are you, God, Jesus, you give hope, you give hope. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, it's your breath in our lives, so we pour out our praise to you only. Oh, great are you, Jesus. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, yes. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lives, Jesus, so we pour out our praise to you only, God. Oh, Father God, just thank you right now that you give us. You are the great provider, Father God, that you are the healer, that you are the resurrection and the life. And Father God, I thank you right now that we have a freedom, no matter what's going on in this world, no matter what's going on around us, that we've got a freedom to worship you this morning. Father God, shukurara shiana. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great. Come on. are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so I pour out my praise to you only, God. In my lungs, so I pour out my praise. I pour out my praise. It's your breath in my lungs, so I pour out my praise to you only, Jesus. Oh, great are you. Oh, great are you in my life overall. Oh, great are you, Lord. Oh, church, just praise him this morning where you are. Just praise him for who he is, for who he is, for who he is in every situation. Right now, Father God, I thank you that you are just an awesome, mighty Saviour. Father God, I just pray right now that you be glorified, that you be lifted high in this place. Oh, you hold the power, Father God. You are the power. You are awesome. You are awesome in power. Today, yesterday, forever. That never changes. God comes to save. Jesus, we're going to sing about your power, Father God. Coming on clouds, kings and kingdoms will bow down, and every chain will break. His broken hearts declare his praise. Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power, fighting our battles. Every knee will bow before him. Our God is the Lamb. Oh, you are the Lamb, Jesus. Oh, every knee will bow. Oh, Jesus. Every knee, Jesus, every knee will bow. Father God, I thank you, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, you unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Oh, oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I'm no longer a slave. Oh, surrounded by you. Oh, I'm surrounded. Oh, Jesus. I'm no longer a slave. I'm no longer fearful. Jesus. Oh, you split the sea so I could walk right through. Oh, you split the seas, Jesus. Oh, I'm no longer fearful. I'm a child of the Most High. Jesus. Oh, you are loving me. Oh, Jesus. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. Oh, you rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. Oh, yes, I am. Oh, you rescued me. Oh, you make a way. Jesus, you make a way. Oh, I'm no longer. I am a child of the Most High God. Oh, I'm no longer a slave to any fear. I am a child of God, the Most High. I am a child of the Most High, Jesus. Are you hurting and broken within, overwhelmed by the weight you sing, Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was brought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Joy from the ashes, a new life was born. Jesus is calling. Come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was brought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. So come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was brought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. What a Savior, isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Oh, bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Oh, isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah, Christ is risen. Jesus. Jesus. Oh, come to the altar. Oh, church right now, just declare that you are within His presence, that you will walk within His glory, that you will just be with Him today, because He is mighty. God is greater, oh, greater than any circumstance. Oh, water you turned into wine, open the eyes of the blind. No one like you, none like you. Out of darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, none like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Oh, Oh yes, He is. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Oh God, oh Jesus, our God, oh our God is greater, our God is greater than anything.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you are well. I don't know what you're feeling like at the moment, but we're now at the end of 6 weeks of lockdown, and we started week 1, didn't we? Full of faith, lots of scriptures. God's good. We're learning something from this, and of course we are. But of course that was week 1. We're now at the end of week 6, and things are a little bit. We're still learning and we're still believing, but things are a little bit harder. I know in our house, for instance, Finley's got a little bit more grumpier this last week. I think the kids are getting more frustrated. I think the wife might be. I've sometimes felt that way. Cabin fever can set in and all that kind of stuff. And of course, for some of us, we are going through some really tough times, both in terms of our health, maybe our mental well-being. And the reality of the situation is it just gets tough. And as much as we do have faith and we do believe, because we do, actually our emotions do sometimes get the better of us. Sometimes they do overwhelm us. Sometimes our minds overplay things and we start to believe things maybe that aren't true, or maybe actually they are true, but we start to overplay them quite a lot in our mind, and we get a bit frustrated, we're getting fed up, all these things begin to happen to us a little bit, and I'm sure it's common for a lot of people, and it becomes a little bit different. And for some of us, I've spoken to some, and it's tough going at the moment. And you get people sometimes get down, and and then they condemn themselves for being down, and have I got any faith because I feel this way? I shouldn't feel this way. I'm a Christian, blah blah blah, and just get yourself into a bit of a knot. But this is the reality of life, isn't it? This is the reality of our life. But as Christians, the good news is we have the Bible, we have faith. We know who we are, we know who we belong to. We can turn to scripture, can't we? We can do that, and we can read amazing passages that help lift us and bring us back up, and it's amazing. That's what we do. I mean, for instance, passages like the one that Rosie's bringing.
Matthew 6:25-27. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. It is not important than food, and the body more important than clothes. Look at the birds of the air; they do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet Heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much valuable than they? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life?
Now it says do not worry, of course. And I read that and I'm encouraged. Yes, I'll look, I won't worry, I'll remember, I'll look outside there, I see the trees and I see the flowers, and I'm like, yeah, God's got this. And yet the next day, my car needs an MOT, or I go to the bank and actually I go online to the bank, or go to the bank and oops, I'm in the red. All of a sudden, I go to the supermarket and the toilet roll's gone, and I really need some. And all of a sudden, I'm worrying, and I'm like, but I'm not supposed to worry, but I'm worrying, and then I'm worrying because I'm worrying, and then I have to get into a cycle of don't worry, Lord, help me not to worry. Oh Lord, I've been worrying. That's no good, is it? And I start to worry, and then I talk to someone, but then I feel better again. But I talk to somebody else, and suddenly I begin to worry about something different. This is the reality, isn't it? I worry. Do not worry about tomorrow. I won't worry about it. I won't, Lord. But I'm worried like I worried. And I find myself in this complete cycle. And of course, then there are other passages like this one.
Philippians 4, verse 6. Do not be afraid. Do not be anxious after anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God.
do not be anxious. Well, I won't be anxious, Lord. No, I won't be anxious. And I'm not going to be anxious, Lord. Help me not to be anxious today. Amen. Amen. Do not be anxious about anything. No, I won't. But in everything, prayer and petition. Amen. 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 And then all of a sudden, I'm anxious because I was anxious. I was anxious about being anxious. So now I'm sorry that I was anxious. And now I feel bad because I was anxious. And now I'm anxious because I feel bad. And all of a sudden, I'm going round in this pattern again. I'm like, and suddenly I know the scripture and I know what it says. But I find myself, in reality, living often a very different experience. Is it because God's word's wrong? I don't think so. Is it because maybe I have emotions in my own life that at this moment in my walk I have not learned to completely control the time walk with? Absolutely. You see, as people, we are made with emotions. And emotions actually are a good thing, you know? It would be horrible if you went to a funeral and you were like, you know, when someone you love died, wouldn't it be awful that you couldn't cry for them? Emotions are a good thing. It's great when you hear something really positive and you feel really pleased and happy for someone. That's a good thing. Emotions are amazing. God made us with our emotions. And the reality is the Bible teaches us that we're made in his image. And of course, if we're made in his image, it goes to that we have all the emotions that he does. God is happy. God is sad. God is full of grace. God is full of compassion. God shows mercy. God can be full of empathy. God is a judge. God does all these things. But the difference between God and me and you is that God is all those things all of the time. God doesn't have a day where he's happy, but then a day where he's sad, and then another day where he's a bit confused, and then another day where it's all clear, another day where he feels angry with us all again, but then the next day he's quite calm again. God isn't like that. God is consistently God, and he's always those things all at once. I don't get it, but that is the character of God all the time. Everything about God is like a multifaceted diamond. You think you know a bit about him, but there's another bit and there's another bit. And God is like that, but we're not. We're not like that in that respect. We have emotions, and unfortunately for you and me, our emotions dictate a lot of stuff. One minute we're high up there, the next day we're back down there. Then we're back up there, then we're down like that. That is how we kind of roll. And you know, that's just life, isn't it? And you know, I have those experiences, and you know, I bet you do. You have those experiences. We all have those experiences. And if you've just nodded at me and said, yes, Stuart, I have those experiences, I want to tell you now, you're in good company today, all right? Tell the person next to you right now, don't worry about it, you're in good company. You're in good company. And why are you in good company today? Because when I read the Bible, it's full of emotions. The Bible is full of emotions. It's absolutely packed full of them. I mean, just for instance, take the Psalms. Let's go to Psalm 27. Read this. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Triumph. The psalmist is full of triumph. This is a good day for the psalmist. He's like, yes, God's with me. I'm good. This is amazing. And then we go back. We go back and back to one, and then suddenly you read the psalmist go, my enemy is against me. My enemy is trying to trample me down, God. I feel like I'm going to get swallowed. I'm going to get swallowed. And yet in the same psalm, but Lord, you redeemed me. Lord, you did this. It's like one minute you're getting trampled, but the next minute the Lord's redeeming. And you read it throughout the psalm. Psalm 27, Psalm 28, lots like Psalm 44. Loads of different psalms are full of emotion. The writer of the psalms is very emotional. And that's not just the only places, but we read it. We read the Bible is full of emotions. And, I think the reason it's there is because actually to acknowledge our emotions is actually normal. To be aware that they're very much part of our life is a good thing. Now you're talking to Stuart here, who basically I'm Mr. Like just get on with it. I can just get on with it, and I have that kind of mentality. Pull your socks up, let's get on with it. And something that God's been doing in me and is doing me is sometimes I just have to pull myself back and say it might be true for me, but it might not be true for you, and I've got to be remembering that when I'm talking to you. That's leadership, isn't it? When we lead people, we're not just saying this is what I think, this is what I think, this is what I think. Leaders put themselves where people are. Jesus didn't come down out of nowhere and just preach at us. He became one of us. He became like us, actually. He walked in our shoes. Leaders, put yourself in people's shoes. Helps you to think about how you say things and how you communicate. The Bible is absolutely full of emotions. You just read it. It's just consistently. You just see the lives of some of the great people and just the turmoil they went through, the ups days and the down days, and the days when they were there and the days when they just want to do one, from God. People like Jonah, you just see it. It's full. I mean, we've got Genesis, right? For instance, Genesis is a few. Genesis 32. Genesis 15. Sorry, Abraham. He's got this great promise on his life, hasn't he? He's going to be the father of many. It's going to be nations coming out of him that are going to be blessed. And he's in the land, and it's a hard place. And God's come to him at the beginning of 15 in a dream, has appeared to him and said, listen, I'm going to be your reward. I'm going to be your shield. I mean, who wouldn't want God to speak those things to them? I mean, wow, you'd be on cloud 9, wouldn't you? But you read that actually Abraham isn't on cloud 9. In fact, he comes out of that and it's like he's really sad and depressed. And you're like, but God's just spoke to you and blessed you and told you. But Abraham is depressed. And he can't help it. He just basically says to God, yeah, I know what he's saying about the city and the people and all that kind of stuff, but I don't even have a son. How can all that happen if I don't even have a son? I'm getting old. My wife's getting old. We don't have any kids. I don't have a son to carry on. It kind of feels a bit like a great hope, but something that I can't even see how it's going to work. And you kind of read in that account of a despair a little bit in Abraham, of his situation that he's in. And you kind of think, but you've just had God appear to you, but you're despairing. Because it's real. It's real life, isn't it? This is how we think. This is the reality of the situation. You have another situation with Hagar, actually, and Sarah and Abraham, and they've concocted this plan to have an heir, because obviously God's not doing it quick enough, and we all fall into that one. God said he'd do it and he hasn't done it yet, so I'm going to have to do it instead, and we all go there. And of course what happens is they get Hagar, she gets pregnant, and that's the plan. But actually Sarah becomes insanely jealous of Hagar to the point where she starts to be cruel and she starts to mistreat her, and she's horrible to her, and we read that. We don't know what she did. We just know that she started to mistreat Hagar. She got very upset by her, angry with her and cruel, and she just showed that in her cruelty to the point where Hagar runs away. And the angel finds her in the desert by the spring of water, and he's like, what's the matter? And she's like, my mistress is this, that and the other. And Hagar's on her own. She's fearful. She's pregnant out in the wild by herself. It's not good. She's uncertain of the future, and the angel just comes to her and says, come on, back you go. But you read this account because it's life. It's absolutely life as it is. Then, of course, you read other stuff. Jacob, he wronged his brother when he was younger. Still, God bless that. But years later, Jacob gets wind that his brother Esau is approaching with 400 or so people, an army. And what does Jacob do? The Bible says he got very distressed. He got very upset. He got very scared. He's a great man of God, and yet his brother's coming and is absolutely terrified. And so he sends out servants here and there. He's doing all he can to try and placate his brother because he's so fearful. And the Bible allows us to see this, to read this account of his fear at seeing his own brother. It overtakes him for a moment. Moses is another one. God appears to him and says, come on, go to Pharaoh. And what does he do? Fear overwhelms him. Inadequacy overwhelms him. I'm no good. I'll just humiliate you and I'll humiliate myself, and it's the day I could get killed, and I'm worried. I don't want to go there. And if for a moment Moses is consumed by his own and God has to say to him, it's okay, I'm going to send you, go. And eventually he does go, but not until Moses is fully convinced that God's got this. And it's like God allows you to see this dialogue where Abraham is doing everything he can because of his fear to not do something. How many times have you and me just not done things because of our fear? And I know it's easier said than done, but how many of you have not done things because fear stops you going there? We read it. Joshua is commanded to go, to take a land. But God says to him 3 times, come on, you must be bold, you must have courage. If God says something to you more than once, it's because you need to hear it, okay? You need to hear it the first time, but sometimes God has to really get your attention, so he keeps saying it. If God's saying something to you now, by the way, and you keep hearing it, do something about it, okay? Act on it, listen, because God's trying to get your attention. He wants to tell you something. But you see, he says, go and take the land. But of course, he knows what kind of people are in that land. They were mighty warriors. He'd already been there once and spied out. He knew who he was facing. And of course, not only did he have that to contend with, but he just stepped into the shadows, out of the shadows of Moses. Moses possibly, I don't know, the greatest leader that the Bible has ever known, maybe. That's arguable, maybe, but in my opinion, possibly the greatest leader. He's got big boots to fill, and he's feeling very inadequate about it. And God has to say to him, come on, be bold. Have courage, Joshua. Be bold. Have courage. Be bold. Be courageous, because I'm with you. You can do this. It's almost God has to like kind of coach him and give him a little, and says it's all right. It's all right. He doesn't condemn him for being fearful. He doesn't condemn him for feeling a bit lacking in courage. He just says, come on, you can do this. God says you can do this. 3 times. It happens. Gideon, another one. Take out the Midianites. I can't do that. Have you seen my family? We're like Mr. Puniverse. We're nobodies. We're not mighty people. We're just us. Lord. And it's like, no, you're going to go and take out Midian. And you know the story. With a jawbone and 300 men, he routs out an entire army. Sorry, with a trumpet, not the jawbone, that was someone else. With a trumpet, he takes the trumpet and he goes round the camp, and of course they're destroyed. They devour each other, in fact. But Gideon starts the whole process of, I can't, I'm afraid, I'm not strong enough. He's overwhelmed by the thought of it, and it's too much for him, and he kind of tries to back out of it. But God says, don't worry about it. I'm with you. I'm with you. There's a guy called Jephthah, and you find him in Judges, and it says that he was a mighty warrior. So he must have been a mighty warrior. Maybe he was a bit of a bloke. Who knows? Good hunter and all the rest of it. Maybe nothing feared him. One of those kind of like just get on with it kind of guys, a bit like me. But I'm not a warrior. But in his past, his actual mother was a prostitute, and his dad then marries a woman who then he has children with, and of course the mum despises him because of who his mum is, and of course many people would have done in that day. And so when her sons get older, she basically tells him, listen, your brother is actually the son of a prostitute. He's a nobody, and they drive him out in shame. They drive him out of their house, and he's driven away, and it says he ends up on the street living with the street people. He's gone from mighty man to rag and bone man on the street. He's given up on himself. He feels inadequate. He feels unworthy. He feels probably unloved. He's overwhelmed so much to the point of life that he's given up on it. And you read about this, and yet this is a mighty warrior in the land, someone that God would use. I hope I'm trying to communicate to you that emotions are real. And throughout the Bible we read of how real people are when it comes to their emotions. Naomi and Ruth, she goes to Moab, doesn't she? And you know what happens? She loses her husband. She has 2 sons. She eventually loses them. In that day, a widow without sons or husbands is as good as dead, because there's nobody to care for them. They're poor. There's no provision. It's not like today. And she feels in the land of Moab, she's in enemy territory as well. She completely feels abandoned and nothing. And she makes her way back, and of course Ruth goes with her. But when she comes back, people say, hey, it's Naomi, blah, blah, blah. And she says, don't talk to me. I'm not blessed. I'm not this. I'm not that. In fact, she's really angry. You read it. And not only is she overcome with her anger, but she's blaming God. She's saying, God did this. It's his fault. Oh, that's a big thing, isn't it? You would never say that, never do that. But you know what? Why do I read that story? Because God wants me to see it. God wants me to see that this is reality, and actually to remind me that God's okay. In fact, I think God actually wants honesty out of us, not what we want him to hear. You understand what I'm saying by that? It's good to be honest with God. God can take your honesty. I think that's what Naomi teaches. God can take your honesty. God loves your honesty. God rather you were honest at him than walk away from him. Accepting, dealing with your emotions with God is the best way not to dismiss them and walk away. And Naomi, she's just absolutely, just completely and utterly livid. And so, all of these accounts, they kind of show us, don't they, that emotions are real. We are real people with real emotions, and they really do affect our life, as we've just read. And you know, when Jesus came into the world, you know, he didn't, as I said to you earlier, he didn't appear as some ethereal kind of ghostly figure that just spoke to people. He didn't appear like he came from another, in that respect, like an otherworldly person who just really didn't have a clue because he'd never been there. Jesus became a full human being. He became fully man, like you and me. Sometimes we go, well, yeah, but he was God as well. No, he was fully God, but he was fully human being. He completely, 100% was a man like you and me, a person. He completely lived like we did. He completely got into our shoes and became like us. We read times when Jesus would laugh, like when the disciples would go, Lord, bring down lightning to deal with these guys, and he'd call them the sons of thunder and have a good old laugh at them. We'd have a time when, you know, at the funeral, when he cried, when emotion took over him and he cried in that respect. You know, we'd time when he got angry, when he went to the temple and he saw the injustice of the very place where people were meant to come to God and they were being driven away from him. You know, this house should be a house of prayer, a place of God where people come to God, and you lot are turning it into something else when it's not meant to be. And he gets angry about this. We have a time when he stood on the hill, isn't he, and he's looking out, and it says his heart went to these people. He had compassion and he said, come on, let's pray for the Lord of the harvest to send out the workers. We need to do this. We have times when, you know, when people could approach Jesus. People weren't afraid to approach Jesus because he was a genuinely really nice guy and he was real. He could be approached. He was approachable. He let children jump all over him and he loved it. He enjoyed it. He had fun with them. Jesus was very, very real. He embraced his humanity. He did not deny who he was. Of course, one of the best things you see about, you know, one of the places you really see this is when he goes to the garden.
Luke 22 verses 39 to 44. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground.
You see, Jesus was facing the cross. And at this point, as was just read by my wife, he starts to sweat blood. He became distressed. Now, I'm not a medical person, and you know, maybe you medical people know more than this than I do, but I'm guessing if you start sweating blood, your mental state is pretty poor, and you are in a really, really serious place of, you know, you're really distressed. I mean, to the point it's dangerous for your health. And Jesus is in that place right now, just in that moment in the garden as he's facing the cross. This happens to him. You see, we have to live with our emotions. This is what I said earlier. Sometimes we have emotions and we get condemned by it. I should have more faith, shouldn't I? Oh, I shouldn't allow that to overtake me. Oh, that shouldn't be the case. And we condemn ourselves. Well, if you're going to be condemned because you're under your emotions, you've got to condemn Jesus at this point, because clearly with sweat and blood, in that way, his emotions for a moment he really got hold of him. But he didn't. But he was real. And I think we read that story because it's meant to encourage us, not just because, you know, it's encouraging us. Jesus said, didn't he, you will do all the things I did and more. Now at this point what we do is we latch on to all the miracles, and I think we should, because we want to do those miracles. We want to see God move. I want to pray for people who are sick and see them healed. I'd love to pray for a dead person. Lord, if you can do this, you know, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be awesome? We all want those things. But I do wonder, and it's just my own thinking, and I'm not saying it's in the, you know, this is my own thoughts here, but I do wonder if Jesus said, when he said, you will have experienced, you know, all the things I did and more, well, that includes how we think and feel about ourselves too. Because Jesus was fully human and he embraced himself and he experienced things. And if we're made in his image, ultimately, because he's God, then we have to accept that we're going to have emotions and we're going to experience things too. And he was only in the earth for 33 years. I've been in a little bit longer and some even more. Haven't we all experienced those things? And some of it, and lots of us more, because we've been around longer as well. It's just my own thinking, and I'm not saying that's anything. I'm just chucking it out there. But if we're going to be like Jesus, we are going to, you know, we're going to experience the things he did as well. And that includes all our emotions. But the reality of emotions is, having said all this, we've acknowledged that emotions are good, that we should embrace them. But the next thing we have to do is remember that although we have emotions, we are not controlled by them. You see, I've just said Jesus was overwhelmed at that moment. He was for a moment. But then you read again, he does this. He then says, but then he got up. He got up off the floor where he was kneeling, and he says to his disciples, come, now's the time, let's go, the accuser's here. You know, he prayed, Lord, if there was a way, and he was consumed by his moment. God didn't take him out of the situation, did he? God didn't remove him from that situation, say, okay, maybe there is another way. God didn't even answer him. He got up in that moment and he said, no, this is the way it has to be. You see, that's called not allowing your emotions to control you. And we are meant to be like Christ. And if he could do that, then you and I can, because now he lives in me and you. And what we do is, although we have emotions, we are not meant to be overwhelmed by our own emotions. We're not meant to be consumed by them. Yes, we have to face our emotions. Yes, they are real. And I don't think it's lack of faith to acknowledge this. You see, as I say, Jesus acknowledged the situation he was stood in. He didn't get taken out of it. He was still there. That's, you know, you have to say, this is the truth. This is how I feel. This is how I think. This is what is. But despite that, I'm going to believe God anyway. Abraham believed God even though he looked at his own body, and it says he looked at himself. He was as good as dead. He came to that conclusion that him, and particularly his wife, were as good as dead. But they believed God anyway. The Bible tells us, doesn't it, when I walk through the valley, when I walk, in other words, I'm often going to be in a valley. There's often times when I am in a valley and it can be dark in that valley. But when I'm in that valley, yes, I acknowledge I'm in the valley, it's truth. But I don't become overwhelmed by the valley, because God walks with me through it. God is with me in the situation I am in. And you know what? He may take you out of that situation and bless you in that respect. Equally, he may leave you in that situation. He may leave you thinking and feeling that way for a time. But what we have to do in that moment is say, even though this is the reality of the situation, I still believe God. I still believe that I will not have to be consumed by this. I will walk in faith and I will trust God, even though I feel this way. Because that is what faith does. The moment we start just facing our emotions and trying to do something about it ourselves, we go and do stupid things. We go off in corners we didn't want to go in. We try and do it our way, and it gets into a real mess. So I want to encourage you this morning. If you are feeling hard, it's tiring, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling fed up, you're all these things may actually be true. And I want to say this. Don't condemn yourself. Don't condemn yourself. Don't say, I don't have faith because I think this way. Actually, I want to say this to you. Be real about your situation, because that's more faith. But actually turn that to God. Surrender yourself to God and say, this is how it is. And then allow him to take hold of you. Allow him to speak to you. And I'll tell you what else happens at that point. God will also remind you of the times in your life when he was faithful in the past. When he was faithful in the past. And as you surrender to God and you say, yes, God has been faithful, your faith begins to rise again. And you remember that even though I'm in this place, God is still faithful. Abraham had a son. Gideon took out an army. Hagar had Ishmael, and he was blessed. You know, Jesus went to the cross and he paid the price for your sin and for my sin. I live because he lives, and he lives in me, and I can do the things he did and more because he said so. And I can live a life that he lived, and even more so in this world because I'm in it, because he's with me, and I have a great high priest who's gone before me and knows exactly how I am. So I really want to just encourage you this morning. Keep going. Don't worry. Don't condemn yourself. The enemy condemns, not God. Don't condemn yourself. Look up. Have faith. Believe God. Lord, I want to pray just for those this morning who are listening. Lord, who are thinking right now, this is how it is, Lord. I pray against condemnation. Lord, I thank you that you don't mind where we're at in that respect, because it's reality. Your word is full of it. But like the great people of the past, like we know, Lord, help us to look up in this situation. Help us to trust you in this situation. Help us to remember your faithfulness in these times, and to believe you rather than what we think, rather than what we feel. Even if that reality it feels real, help us to believe you, to take hold of words that, Lord, like, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't be anxious. And to say, Lord, yes, I do, but I will trust you. I will trust you anyway. Lord, I really do pray these things. And I thank you, Lord, that you are a faithful, faithful God. So, Lord, bless you guys. Thank you for listening. And I'll speak to you soon.